So, how I came to even find out about Vipassana started months before, as I had drawn a photo just like in my sketchbook, and somehow it was of a girl who kind of looked like me actually. And she was like kneeling on a cushion, kind of with her eyes closed in a meditative stance. And she looked to be meditating. And I kind of just drew this picture subconsciously. Like I wasn't really thinking about anything in particular. It just kind of flowed out of me. And I wrote like different quotes about human nature, like as above, so below, as within, so without. You create your own reality and such. And then I had this picture that I drew, and it was just on my desk. And so subconsciously, I wasn't necessarily paying attention to it, but it was in my room. So probably in passing, I would just subconsciously notice it. So this was like some months that it was like 2011 that I had drawn this, I think, or even earlier. Yeah, it was probably sometime end of 2010, early 2011. So I drew this photo, and I don't even really know why I drew it. I think it must have just been subconscious. I think that's what sometimes when you draw something, it's not necessarily a conscious thought. It's just something that you're thinking about within. And that's the value of sometimes sketching things. Sometimes you don't have words for something, but if you just allow yourself to unconsciously doodle or draw, sometimes it can reveal a lot of your innermost thoughts, right? So for me, that's just what came out. It was just a picture of a drawing of a girl who looked like me, probably was just drawing myself essentially. And she was looking to be in a meditative position. And some months go by, and I guess I was actually thinking in my head, I'm like, wouldn't it be great if there was some kind of like a retreat or thing that existed where I could go and there would be a structure, like a something that had to do with like a regimented structure, and it had more to do with your spiritual being. And so in my head, I was just thinking, like, I don't really want to have to pay a whole lot. I don't necessarily want to go to some kind of like a very indulgent type of retreat. I just want to do something that requires a little bit of focus and internal introspection, like of spiritual nature. But I didn't have a name for it. I didn't even know such thing existed. And a lot of things that I had seen, like online retreats, had more to do with like very expensive, like, oh, just go spend time outdoors in nature, or, you know, kind of pampering yourself at a spa or something, or maybe some kind of like therapy. But that's not what I wanted. So, so some months go by, and then I was still thinking about it. And then finally, I was in a conversation with someone, and I happened to voice out loud, I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm looking for something that has a little bit of structure where I can focus on like some kind of spirituality, and, isn't really too expensive that I don't have to pay a whole lot of money to do. And maybe it's like a few days long so I can really immerse myself in an experience. And I didn't even know that I was describing this very experience. And she's like, oh, have you heard of Vipassana? And I was like, no. And then I went to look it up later, and I'm like, wow, this actually looks like something, like it all actually looked like what I was describing. I'm like, there's a timetable, so it's very structured. Hour by hour, it tells you what you're going to be doing. It's like a meditation retreat, essentially. So it had lots to do with like introspection and spirituality. And also, it wasn't like something that cost you thousands upon $1,000 to do. In fact, it was donation based. So that is how I actually came to find out about Vipassana. And I think the question then is like, why was I even thinking about these things? How come what led me to be like, oh, like, how come this idea just came to my mind where I was like, I was voicing out these ideas, and I'm like, oh, I want something with these specific things. Like, how did that come to even be my mind? And it was interesting because I feel like it was almost like this law of attraction, because in some way, I probably in my mind knew that such a thing existed, but obviously consciously I didn't know what it was, and I'd never heard of Vipassana before. But I was just describing it. I was like, something to do with spirituality, and something with the timetable, and something very disciplined and structured, and that helps you to like regain like an internal focus. And then obviously it was also relating back to a few months before that when I had drawn that picture that was also revealing my own inner thoughts that I didn't necessarily know how to articulate in words, but like the visually you can kind of, like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So visually I could see the poster that I had drawn, and I'm like, it was funny because when I came back from Vipassana, and then it was like maybe a few days after, and I saw that poster on my desk, and I was like, it dawned on me, I'm like, did I just draw that experience to me? Because I had drawn it, and then suddenly I had gone to live what that happening in that drawing. When I was looking at that, I'm like, I drew that photo a few months ago, and I never really paid attention to it. Yet when I came back from the Vipassana, I was like, it just dawned on me. I was like, wow, I had drawn this experience to me months before it happened. So it was almost like a law of attraction. So for me, I thought that was like the magic that I thought somehow something within me created an idea. Because there's a quote by that philosopher named Rumi, if you've ever heard of it. It goes, "What you seek seeks you." So sometimes I wonder, how did I get those thoughts? I feel like sometimes your internal being gets some ideas of something that is already calling you. So when I started describing that experience and I drew that picture, probably something was leading me to that. And so it was giving me these ideas. So I feel like part of it was not really coming from me. It was almost like a spiritual, like higher energy, like the universe being like giving me these seeds, like planting these seeds in my mind, and then being like that quote by Rumi, "What you seek seeks you." So it's almost like giving me those ideas, because where did those ideas come from? That's what I wonder. It's like those seeds planted in my mind that led to me drawing that picture, and then led to me like voicing those desires, being like, oh, I'm looking for something like this, because if I hadn't spoken that out loud, I wouldn't have gotten that information. And I spoke it to the right person, right? Because that person happened to have that information about Vipassana that kind of put the puzzle piece together. And I didn't even know. And even then, I didn't link it with that picture that I drew, right? Because then I was just like looking, I was just kind of like, oh, and I was like in some kind of a job. So I didn't even really ask for time off. I just told her, I was like, oh, I'm going to be away for these days. And it just so happened she was flexible. She's like, she probably realized that I was not that serious about a career or a job. So she's like, oh, okay, fine. She's like, most people, they have to request time off, right? And for me, I just looked at the dates. I'm like, it was like nearby June. And I'm like, oh, the next one is in June. It was only like a couple of weeks away. And then I was like, oh, I could go to this retreat. And the retreat is like 10 days long. And I chose a one that was in Montreal, like nearby Montreal, was in Montebello, Quebec. And I was like, oh, this is fun. It'll be like I get to see a new place. And one of the reasons I chose that one is because I was looking at the pictures of the center, and I thought, oh, it looked very nice. Like it looked very like a nice setting. Because I had looked at some of the other retreat centers, and they looked a little bit more like they just didn't look that. So for me, I was kind of listening to my intuition. I was going with what felt attractive to me. So I was like, oh, this place attracts me. So instead of going somewhere, say in BC or Alberta, which is closer to me, I saw the one in Montebello, and I was like, oh, that retreat looks nice. It just looked a lot more bigger, like more expansive. So I was more drawn to that than just staying in Alberta. So I went with that feeling. I allowed that feeling to guide me. I wasn't just like thinking about convenience and location or practicality. I was thinking about energy. I was like, oh, I feel lit up by this. I was quite excited not just to do the retreat, but also now to visit this location that I'd never been to. And obviously at this time, I never traveled that far by myself. So also I had to figure out, I'm like, how do I get there? Because obviously this place is like in a little bit of a retreat. So it's like, once I get to the airport, where do I go? So I had to figure out the logistics. Like I would email the center, and I got all the logistics. Like I signed up for it. I went to tell the manager of that place had a job. I'm like, I'm just gonna be away for these days. And I told her I was going on a retreat. So she was accommodating to that. And she's like, okay, just tell me when you're back. So I just went on that. Like that's the thing. I didn't really ask for permission. I didn't get it. And then and then and then obviously I was like doing a little bit of like, okay, how much is this flight gonna cost? And at that time I used to be very diligent. I would write down all the expenses in a notebook. I'd be like, okay, the flight I flew into Montreal, so I calculated the flight, and then I was like, okay, and then when I fly back, I'll fly out from Ottawa, because I was like, I might as well visit a new destination.
So I don't know, I was just like planning this out. And then I booked a flight and then I wrote down the cost of the flight back. And then I think I booked like accommodation because I would have a couple days in Montreal and a couple days in Ottawa. So I decided to tag on a couple days in each city to give me a little bit of a buffer. So I have a couple days before the retreat and a couple days after. And then I added those expenses into the notebook. So I had my accommodation, I had a couple flights booked out. And then obviously when I got there, I got some information about like what bus I would take, like to get to, and then they would pick us up from a location. So I think I had to figure out like the logistics of how I was going to actually get there by transport. So those were all things that I had done at that time. And then obviously as I'm there, I have to go get meals. So every time I would just wander around and I would be like, oh, which restaurant looks good? And I got to visit like Montreal for a couple days. And that was like my first time traveling almost to a new city, like that far away. And then from there, I went to my 10-day retreat. And it was funny because I not just did the retreat for 10 days, but it also almost was a bit of like solo travel, which also like the way that I solo traveled was like very much do it yourself. So I would just find my own accommodation and then I would stay in the place that drew me the most. I think I just booked like a hostel or something in each place or like a bed and breakfast or something. So like not a hotel, like something very like local and very much more like just a bit more cozy and and a bit more like a do it yourself energy rather than just, oh, I'm just gonna stay in a hotel or something. So that was interesting to me. So it was more than just the retreat of the Vipassana. But I also noticed that before I went on the retreat, just when I was in Montreal, I noticed a bit of a difference from when then after that I was in Ottawa, and then like my almost like that 10-day experience almost like shifted my mind because I tell you that when I was in that Vipassana, you don't talk for 10 days. You don't have your phone for 10 days. You don't have any computer. You don't have any books to read. You don't have any TV. You have no extra, you can't even journal or write about anything. You don't even prepare your own food. Pretty much what you're doing for like from 4 a.m. until like the end of the day, like 10 p.m., 9 p.m. ish, you're just meditating or just being in silence or going for little walks on breaks and such or eating lunch that is prepared for you. And lunch is vegetarian. So imagine doing that for 10 days. Like that's 100 hours of meditation in that 10 days. I calculated it based on the timetable and if you're actually obviously meditating and not just sitting there, you're basically doing 10 hours of meditation each day for 10 days. So you can imagine that how much that changes you after 10 days of no talking, of no doing anything, not looking at your phone, just like complete retreat from like everyday activity, like your mind, it almost like quiets down. That's the thing. It's like your mind stops producing all of the hoo-ha and like all the noise that you normally get and like all the chatter and just all the things going around and that even just visually because you're set, these locations are always set a bit outside of the city. So you're not like in the heart of the city. You're not hearing the traffic. And a lot of times it's set by a little, um, there's some nature next to you. So at this particular place, just next to Montebello in Quebec, there was like a little forest trail and this was like in June. So it was like very like, it was warm and you could just walk outside. And during like lunch breaks, you would get like some time to just walk around, enjoy outside, sit outside and things of that nature. And no one talks. So it's like you just take your time to walk through these trails. So that's all designed on purpose because they want you to be immersed in nature, but also eating vegetarian food and being alone with your own self. So not talking, not chattering. So in this particular environment, with these particular activities, you get a very different experience than you would get anywhere else. Like this is not something that you would get, even if you just sat at home alone, you still have all your things around and there's nothing stopping you from looking at the news, from reading your book, from checking your phone, from, going and cooking yourself a meal. You don't have any of these in the Vipassana retreat. You're literally hyper focused on just being. And I noticed that by the end of the 10 days, say when I got the very small town called Montebello, they give you a ride to like the bus stop where the bus will come pick you up to go back to like either you could go to Ottawa or go back to Montreal, which is why I chose to go to Ottawa because I had already started out in Montreal. I just wanted a different ending point. And I noticed that when I was standing in Montebello by the bus stop, it was like a very, very small town, like a one road town. And it was like kind of like French Canadian. So like some of the signs were in French. It felt a bit foreign, even though it was still Canada. And then I noticed like there were a lot of bikers there, like these like people who wore like their motorcycle like vests and like leather, and then like they would just ride by on their motorbikes and like a lot. It was like a very small town, but it looked like people kind of just rode through. And I'm just standing there with my luggage after this retreat, just standing there, and I just felt so like I felt very like not exotic. I'm like, wow, I'm like I've never been to this part of the world. And I'm like only that, but like I felt like this place had so much character. That's what I like. I'm like, it's such a small, it's not like a big city like Montreal. It's like a very like, I would never have come here otherwise. This tiny little town with this spot. I'm just sitting at this one street road, waiting for a bus. And I'm just like observing all the people. They kind of just minding their own business, even though they have like these people just waiting for a bus and you probably look like totally out of place. Because they had a very distinct vibe. That's what I remember. I'm like, this was not people that you see in just a city. Everyone looks the same in a city. I feel like people who live in very small towns, they have a very like, they have a little bit more of a distinct, like they dress a bit more like just how they want. They seem a little bit more hippie, a bit more free spirit. Like they're obviously more rural, like out like country vibes. And then they also have like more of a French Canadian like accent. So most people there, like they have like I mentioned, like things were in French as well, even though it's still Canada. So I was just thinking about it because like at this time, obviously a lot of places I would like in my if I thought to my bedroom at home, I'm like most of my stuff is like from Sears, from like these IKEA, from like these big box stores. And it was so funny. I remember thinking very vividly as I was standing there, like observing these people, like they would wear like their motorcycle vests, or they would just be like they seem very free spirited and care like they're not like people who are in the city driving their big cars or just like buying their groceries or going to work. They seem people who are a little bit more outside of that mainstream society in this one street town. And I had obviously just come out of this Vipassana retreat where I freaking didn't talk to anyone for 10 days. And so I was very like in this state of like, I was like, oh, this is the perfect place because it's so quiet. It wasn't like the jarring big city vibes, right? It was still very just like I was like in a lull of like my mind just still coming out of that 10-day space. So I was just like observing these people and I was thinking back to my bedroom back in Edmonton and I'm like all my stuff because I have so much stuff and all my clothing I would buy from like these corporate store like these big stores and they call I'm like and I was just thinking like even as I was standing there looking at my clothing I'm like I look like the way I dress is like totally different than these people like they look like people who maybe go to like a thrift store or something, or maybe make their, I don't know, it's just like a different vibe, right? And then I was just imagining, I'm like, why do I seem so like in the box, if that makes sense? I'm like, why do I seem like even just like going to the job every day? I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, even that is so like lifeless. I'm like, I can't imagine any of these people going to like a job of that nature. I can't imagine any of these people shopping at Sears. I can't imagine any of these people like shopping at IKEA. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, these people are riding their motorbikes. They're out and about. They're like talking and laughing with each other. Because a lot of these people, they just like talking with each other in the middle of the road in the street. And like, there's like, if I'm just like, I'm imagining like, it's like those places where the store is like half inside, half outside. There's a lot of activity outside, not just like all boxed inside and not so like clean cut as a lot of like city life is. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. For me, I thought it was so interesting just because I'm like, I felt so, what do you call it? What's the word for it? Bland. I'm like, oh, these people seem so like rich in character. Like they have, I'm like, I could probably write a book about these people. and and then I realized what I was like missing when I just being in Edmonton or just like in my regular life. Because everything was like, oh, you just have a price tag or you just buy stuff or you just go and do things like, oh, you just go to work and make money or you just do things that don't even feel like it's like for your soul. Like you're just doing things for what? For the sake of who knows what. I'm like, it felt so like empty and like so lifeless. And I was like looking at these people, I'm like, why do these people seem so like in a way full of life? Like they don't look rich or anything. Like in fact, I thought they looked a bit like country. like a little bit, what's that word for it? Like a country bumpkin. Like this one street town road where it's like just like a dirt road and you just stand at some random bus stop. And I was just found it for some reason. I felt so happy. I felt so like I couldn't stop smiling. I was like noticing everything because it was so interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, things are in a different language. I'm like, the signs are in French. I was like, oh, these people are talking in a different like accent. They had more like a French Canadian accent. I was like, oh, these people are dressed like bikers. I don't really see people like that often. Or they're just like, I don't know, they just seem more like outside living life or something. and then and then I was just looking at my own clothes. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, why do I buy so many clothes that I don't even wear? And not only that, like I buy clothes that I feel like aren't even good for the environment. You know, a lot of these clothes are made in like cheap labor from like imported from China, India, who knows where, right? I never really checked the labels. And then I just realized I'm like, oh, I'm like, I think in my room, I'm like, oh, I have so much stuff. It feels so cluttered in there. And I realized like I like when I go to my job, I feel so like I feel like it's so like it's not like what's the point of it, right? I don't feel connected to anything. And then I was like, these are all things that I think caused me to seek out a different experience in the first place. I'm like just feeling like I'm just doing things that don't really feel meaningful to me. The clothes I'm wearing, the stuff I buy, the thing I'm doing in the daytime. And then I was like, why do I feel suddenly so like vibrant and alive? Like just observing people in a different place. And I think what I recognize is that I like a little bit of that travel where you get to experience not like not like the kind of travel that people just want to go on vacation, they just want to go to stay in a hotel or they just want to go see like pretty places. But I like seeing like the life, like the everyday life of places that are to me seemed connected to the earth more. Like these people who are just simply talking to each other in the middle of the road and, you know, riding their motorbikes or dressing very differently than I see in big cities. And also for me as a bit of a foreigner, never visiting that part before, I was like, this is so interesting. And actually out of the, I think I stopped in Montreal and I stopped in Ottawa. But to me, that little town in Montebello was the most interesting. And I was only there for like maybe not even 2 hours at most because I was just waiting for the bus, right? But in that short period of time when I was just like observing everything, I felt like I paid the most attention in that particular moment. And I had a journal that I wrote in at that time about what I was like describing, but I think I got rid of it. But I had written like I literally had been describing that scene and I wish I kept it because I had whatever I wrote in that moment was more probably authentic because I was literally writing about what I was observing in that moment. And then I think that really was like almost another seed that got planted in me that led to more like of what I actually is important to me and meaningful. And then I remember when I got back to Edmonton, I, I never called the employer back. And she emailed me, and I think it was like after a week went by, and she's like, she emailed me and she's like, oh, hi, Sarah. I just wanted to know if you're back and if you're ready to come back to work. And I think I did go back at some point, but it was so funny how I remember that when I went back, it was someone had commented that, oh, you look different. But I'm like, really? And I'm like, how? And they were like, you just look more like happy or just a little bit more like confident or something. I'm like, well, I did go on a trip. Maybe that changed me somehow. And then, and it was also funny because I feel like I became a little bit more confident. So I was like, I was not happy with certain things. Like I felt like I was like, I don't really want to work on this particular day anymore. And I also was like, I need to be paid a little bit more. And then I was like more willing to ask for it. And then at that time, she was not willing to accommodate those requests. And I was not willing to sacrifice my own life or energy to do something that didn't feel aligned anymore. So I think that's also what shifted me. I just realized that what was more important to me to be unhappy or to do things that, let's face it, like, oh, I gotta sacrifice like all this time and energy to sit in an office or to do something that was like very, very like just not even helping me in life in general. And I just like, okay, well, yeah. I'm like, so some we just kind of parted ways, like amicably, but essentially she didn't want to give me the day that I didn't want to work anymore. So I just like essentially, and I also feel like maybe I outgrew that role. And that was probably, I think, just a natural, it showed me how I had grown because I realized that I had the confidence now after working there for a bit of, in the beginning, I didn't have any I was just so happy, like, oh my God, someone hired me. Oh, someone's giving me a job, that I think she could sense that. And so she felt like she's going to maybe take advantage a little bit. I'm not trying to say that, but like, obviously their employer is going to start you at an entry level, whatever. And then it, but, um, but I felt like I had grown in my confidence. And so then I was more willing to say what I wanted for myself. And then that led me to other positions that helped me to grow in other ways. And then it also essentially got me out of that position that I had started dreading every day, having to wake up and go there every day, essentially. Even though it did help me grow in some ways, I also felt at some point I did outgrow it. So it was almost like a natural convergence that this retreat came at a time that I'm like, you know what? If I continued to stay there, I wouldn't have grown. Like I wouldn't have done anything differently. But then I was also just like in my room. I remember when I was back in Edmonton and I was just like, I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to go do typical activities. I'm like, oh, this is so pointless. What's the meaning of anything? I'm like, oh, I have so much stuff around me right now. I don't even know why I have so much stuff. And like I was looking at my wardrobe, something that I always just buy clothes and hardly ever wear it. And some clothes don't even feel good. And then I started realizing like, why do I have so many clothes and why do I buy so much stuff that are just like coming from places that have no meaning? They don't have story. That was one thing I noticed when I was standing at the bus stop in Montebello. Like everyone here, I'm like, I bet they have a story. I'm like, I wonder where they buy their clothes. That was actually wondering. I'm like, I would not see that at the places I buy my clothes. I'm like, where do they shop? Because I thought their clothes looked really interesting. And then I was like, I wonder what they do all day. Like I was actually wondering that too. Like I don't usually wonder that about other people. I'm like, oh, they're just going to work. Like I don't care what they do. But these people, I was like, I wonder what they actually do during the day. I was like, I wonder what these people like, where they buy their clothes. I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking. So for me, I'm like, these interested me more. And then I just suddenly, when I was just like in my room, that's when that was following the Vipassana. And I felt like in my mind, I didn't even want to do like any of the same activities that I was like before that doing. It's like, oh, none of this is meaningful. That was 2012. That was like June, July 2012. And then, yeah, that was just a little bit of a summary of my Vipassana experience. So I feel it was partially the Vipassana, but also partially the travel that went along with it that introduced me to new places that I hadn't been before. And then that combined with the fact that I had just done Vipassana, it probably allowed my mind to be more like present, to be able to observe what was going on. And then also to also because I decluttered a lot of like the noise from always like, having all your stuff around, being in the same environment all the time. It gets you out of your typical environment. And that often allows you to see from a new perspective. And I think sometimes your own intuition knows more than you can know yourself because I was like, I just feel like I couldn't even put into words. I just drew that drawing first, right? And then somehow miraculously, that drawing became a reality. Like that drawing became something that came to be a real experience. Me meditating, like I never imagined myself meditating, being silent for 10 days straight in a meditating position. When have I ever meditated? Like never in my life, right? And so that was just interesting how I had drawn that. And then that happened to pass. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just completed 100 hours of meditation. And not only that, but I had also traveled somewhere on my own and done all of the logistics and, a little bit of getting myself from place to place and getting back on my own and stuff. Like that whole experience, I think as a whole in totality, not just the meditation, but also the travel associated with it. I think that was almost like what I needed to see to me, what was truly in my heart that truly I gravitated to. So that was a bit of a story on, I think, what is the law of attraction, and also the fact that what you seek seeks you, the quote by Rumi, and that sometimes your own heart knows more than your mind knows. So sometimes just drawing something can reveal a lot about what's going on internally than if you're just if you don't really know. And then from there, it can lead from one idea to another, like a seed of a thought that then leads to something you speak aloud. And then when you speak it aloud, you might actually say something to the right person who gives you the information that you need. And then suddenly something happens that links you back to that first thing that you didn't even know was an actual thing. I'm like, how did I draw that drawing? I wasn't even I wasn't consciously like, oh, there's like, I'm gonna be meditating. You know what I mean? I never even thought about that. It's just so magical how I think that happened. And so for me, that's the magic of the story. So I'll just end that off and with the story of I came to be at that Vipassana meditation.